بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
All right. What is your take on moon sighting issues in the UK? Should we follow Saudi Arabia? What a question. Allahu Akbar. I think I need to have like a wheel or something on my head whilst I answer this one. Right, should we... there is also a sub-question to this about going against family or the local mosque. If they disagree with them, is that permitted too? Okay, now the moon sighting issues are incredibly diverse. We come across the moon wars every Eid, really, especially in Ramadan. What should a person do? Now, traditionally, there are two kind of understandings, and both are valid positions within fiqh. One is a global or a universal sighting, and one is a regional sighting. So people would say every region goes with their own sighting, as you do with your prayer times. Or the other position says if it's been declared somewhere, then it suffices. Now, generally, a lot of the madhahib, is the Hanafi madhab. There are actually mixed opinions within many of the madhabs, but if it's, let's say, the Maliki madhab, the Hanafi madhab, including the Shafi'i madhab, really did go with the sense of what would be your own ikhtilaf al-matali', what they called ikhtilaf al-matali'. Now this is, you see, it's a bit broader than saying regional, but it's like saying with shared horizons. Now the Shafi'i madhab was really strict in saying just your region, just this 50 miles or whatever it is goes with their own. But the other madhabs, the Maliki madhab, the Hanafi madhab, were like that areas have astronomical kind of, they have horizons that they share. And as long as they share the same kind of horizon, as in whether it's timelines and things like this, that they could be grouped together. Some may argue that by that they meant universal as well, and some people have argued that some of the Hanafi positions may have been universal and some of the Maliki positions may have been universal. These are both valid kind of opinions, nevertheless. They're not something which is invalid and you can't follow. In my personal understanding, I would have thought ideally every region should just go with what they do. That would have made rational sense to me, in the sense that that's what we do for prayers, and if that's what we did for Eid, it wouldn't really be too much. I mean, that's common sense to me, maybe not to other people. However, given the fact that we're in the UK and we can't really go with our own region in that sense, then looking at our horizon, countries like Morocco and that part of the world that shares the same timeline as us, as in Greenwich Mean Time and stuff like this, I would say would make sense for us to really be kind of just latched on to countries like that and follow them. That would make sense. I would also say that in this day and age with technology, it's also valid to look at these kind of what the kind of observatories tell you and stuff like this. And you have like moon sighting kind of websites, and they will give you details and data on calculations of when the moon can be seen in certain parts of the world. As long as that moon sighting report is then confirmed or affirmed by any sighting in that region, that is awesome. I mean, and you can follow that. So let's say the moon sighting website said, okay, in North Africa, in most of North Africa, the moon can be visible. And now somebody said, yeah, I've seen it. there's been some reportings in, let's say, Tunis, in some in, I don't know, in Morocco, in Egypt. Now, that would be absolutely fine. And we could follow that. And I see no harm in doing something like that. The issue is when these reportings will say that it's impossible to see the moon. That becomes an issue. And then only 2 people say we saw the moon. I do find that highly problematic because it kind of goes against what would be mathematical calculations. And if you are to contradict mathematical calculations or scientific data, then it should be done en masse, as in it should be done with multiple transmissions. So how can it be that the entire Muslim world is looking out for the moon? Right? Millions of people are looking out for the moon, but only 2 people saw it. That, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, according to many of the Malikiya, Sahnun and other people, that is highly problematic because it causes doubt. That how can it be, at the very least, hundreds of thousands of people in this whole entire region are looking out for the moon, and 2 people claim to have seen it. That's it. So, and that's what seems to happen, unfortunately, with this Saudi-centric tradition. We do get a lot of that. So, unfortunately, in this day and age, we seem to have had a third position. The third position is, do we go with the global sighting, do we go with the regional sighting, or do we go with the Saudi sighting? Which really doesn't make any sense why Saudi Arabia has become a fundamental pillar in observing the moon. It doesn't really make any sense that they should be the first country and the only country on earth to see the moon. That doesn't see the passion pouring out from Maz and his love for the kingdom of Saud, Al Saud here. But this isn't necessarily a political statement, but this is just to say that it doesn't make any sense that the entire world is looking out for the moon, but Saudi always seems to see the moon. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would it always see the moon? Why not the countries before it? Globally, if you're looking towards the east, like Malaysia, Indonesia, why not the countries after it? Why not the countries directly above it? The Middle East, why not those beneath it? Yemen, why not, Egypt? Why only Saudi? And why only 2 Bedouins? Like, boy, do those people go to Specsavers. But it really is an intriguing question. Why do they always see the moon and nobody else sees it? And when you see these databases online and all these countries say, just following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, none of them have sighted the moon. And Saudi Arabia says it was affirmed by 2 people. You think 2 people? Just 2 people? I mean, your entire country was looking out for the moon and 2 people saw it. And then those 2 people and this is their criteria. If 2 Muslims claim they've seen it, then science can go to hell as far as we're concerned, because these are Muslims and the power of Iman necessitates that they must be correct. Why must they be correct? I mean, have you heard of poor eyesight or imagination? And I remember once listening to an interview where at that time, some Saudi astronomers and specialists scientists had opposed the decision of the General Saudi decision and said that it was impossible for the sighting. And they interviewed some scholars of Saudi Arabia, and their response was, Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. That yes, okay, science may say it's impossible, but Allah is omnipotent. He's all powerful. If Allah wants to show the moon to these 2 people, He'll show it to these 2 people. What's wrong with that? Allah is powerful. I mean, that sounds very eloquent if that was a speech being given to the Neanderthals. I mean, they may have been intrigued by something, that kind of Bedouin logic, but it doesn't work in this day and age. I mean, that just sounds preposterous. It goes against most of the fiqh that we have. It goes against the understanding that, Allah does not go against His sunnah. fil ard. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. Allah doesn't just do miracles so two Bedouins can celebrate Eid a day early. It doesn't work like that. That if the entire Muslim world is yes, I mean, if you said 500 people saw the moon and the calculations said no, 500 people isn't a big deal. Let's take a city like Birmingham. There's 1 million people. Obviously, this isn't a Muslim part of the world, but like this, now you take cities like Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, you take Jeddah, you take other key cities. There are going to be tens of thousands, but in total, at the very least, hundreds of thousands of people looking out for the moon. It's not difficult, a few hundred have seen it. To say, look, we had 500 reportings. Make sense? To say, for God's sake, 2 people only saw the moon. So this is why I am personally quite, I usually disagree quite strongly with a lot of these kind of claims made from the Saudi kingdom about things like this, because they don't vet them. And if you see other countries, even countries like Pakistan or Morocco, they have a system where each region has designated, and I know Saudi does have that as well. Saudi has like a riqaba, an area does have designated people. But the thing about these other countries is local people who claim to have seen the moon have to inform their local, that kind of body, the designated people, who have to affirm that sighting. Because that's what their job is. And they're vetted to do that. So if we were the people, let's say, sitting in Birmingham and somebody says, somebody in Birmingham says, I've seen the moon, they would give us a call, say, look, I've seen it, I'm seeing it, here it is. And we are watching the horizon non-stop. And we would say, sorry, there were X amount of people here non-stop watching the horizon. Nothing came, how can it be can anybody else affirm that sighting? If not, then that is a dubious sighting, it's inadmissible. Now, where anybody can just make a claim, and especially when it means you celebrate Eid a day earlier, that is problematic. So, right, people, okay, on that. However, I think it's important to say, first of all, can you go against certain people? I mean, you can just follow what you believe, that's not a problem. That said, those people, the common people who are following Saudi Arabia, let's say people say, okay, I'm going to follow Saudi Arabia, I'm going to break the fast or whatever. This shouldn't be a reason to kind of condemn people. Okay, I do find the methodology and the methods deployed by Saudi Arabia on this issue to be kind of appalling. But that doesn't mean people worldwide that are following them are blameworthy. They're not, in that sense. They just look into Saudi because obviously Makkah, Medina, and they're thinking, well, whatever they say, fine. And so people should still be respectful and show that kind of that love and unity and harmony as Allahu Akbar. One ummah, one love. All right. So that's it. Okay, hope that helps. Next question.